not going to hit anybody, we're going to need that net. Probably the small net. There he is. So we into that other rod. Yeah. Looks like it, huh? Oh, there we go. We're off. First one on board. Alright, you on the motor? Yeah. Well, there you go. And that's what we're up here for. Hit that nice little pink and glowback spoon. Again, they're not really huge. You know, about the size of those nice kokanee we've been getting. So we're using kokanee rods with salmon-sized spoons on them, but yeah, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, guess what that was caught on?
Tuna? Nice. There we go. All right, let's get it in the box there, George.
Tuna for the win once again.
On the spoon or on the spoon?
On the spoon infile.
Okay. Popped it out of the cliff, 80 foot on this one. So our first fish was at 50 feet. We've been out here for about an hour now though, and the sun's coming up pretty good. So we dropped down a little deeper on our side rods, and we're still at 50 on the back rod. Again, on that little pink spoon. And
Tuna.
White Dodger and tuna. Gotta have that tuna scent. There we go. And what is it? A little shaker? It's like a little shaker. Yeah, a little shaker. Look at that thing. Woo! And what popped it out of the clip is it got bit. Probably by a Chinook. So that's what happened. We actually hooked this small smolt, and it got bit by that got bit by a Chinook down at 80 feet. How about that? That's why I ripped it out of the clip. Huh? That was exciting for a second. Better take her easy.
You want to hit that camera going?
Yeah. Alright, we're all clear as far as boats. I'll slow us down a little bit. How's it feeling? Decent fish? Okay. Alright. Well, that's on the pink.
I mean, it is a kokanee rod though, so.
It is.
But
Could be a 4-pound coho. Could be a 5-pound coho. There you go. So we are in 300 feet of water. We're trolling about 2 miles an hour against the current. We're actually just going to start making our turn, so we're kind of going about a 45 across current when we hooked up. And running a white 8-inch Dodger. No? There you go. Another nice fish. Yeah, that was a little bigger than the first one.
yeah.
Get that off my finger. Well, again on the pink and white. Roll back with the hoochie. Yeah. How'd you like that on that kokanee rod?
It's fun.
Oh yeah. Alright, get the bonker. Let's do this. And then we'll pull that hook out. Here we go.
Carol bass.
Yeah. We got a boat coming. Alright, we got one rod in. just hooked up.
Hey, he'll call you right back. Alright,
You know, it's weird though. Not doing a whole lot. Pop the clip. This doesn't feel like much. This feels heavy. Better not just be a big old jelly. I don't know if we got into that other gear is the problem. That's why it feels a little strange in our sport. It's a very small fish. There it is. He's just going along. Up in that direction. Wasn't doing much. Oh, there it goes. Here we go. Off we go. That one just popped out too. Look how good. Take that rod. Good shit. Line feeler.
You on too?
we got a double.
Double.
We got
Yeah.
a double.
There we go.
Holy smokes.
Two fish, one net?
Yeah.
Huh?
We got this guy over here. Don't worry about the net for a while, Josh.
Yeah.
I might have some milk on. What do you got, Jordan? No? What's that up? Came off. Did it really?
Yep.
Holy smokes. I'll be darned.
Right side.
Wow. This dude. Yeah, there he is. Good boat. Oh boy. See the fish? See the gear in? There you go. Got him. Here, the gear came off. There we go. What the heck? Chinook. Chinook. Oh, it's dropping krill. Let's see, blackmouth. Blackmouth.
Yeah.
Chinookie. Going over. Spitting out krill everywhere.
You know what it is?
Yep.
I was like, there's no way he's spitting eggs out.
No. Spitting out krill everywhere. Well, that was a Chinook down at 90 feet. Got bowled up in our our rear downrigger. Look at all the feed coming out of this thing. All the krill it's eating. See that? That's all mashed up krill. Holy smokes. So we had a double, broke one off on the hook. Go figure. Whew, get warm out here, but they're still biting. We are, let's check here. We are about a half an hour from low slack. So it is like a pond out here. We got hardly any water moving. And they're still biting. We just had that double. That was crazy. All right, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about today's rigging and the gear we're using. So come out here for these Resident Coho. They're about a 2 to 4 pound fish. Now, a lot of guys will fish for them just like fishing for any other salmon. Use your 9.5 to 10.5 foot, you know, mooching rod, downrigger rod. A lot of guys will mooch herring for them. That is an option that works pretty well. More so, the majority is out here trolling, okay? And early morning, of which you want to get an early morning start. We didn't quite do that, this being the 5th of July. Late night, I think we got on the water about 6:30 or 7. The bite really starts happening on some days at first light. So that would have been about a 4:30 start time this morning, which is probably what we should have done. That being said, we're fishing an outgoing tide all morning. We have low slack at 11:30, and we got big tides right now. We got about 11 foot of water change through your high to low. Low slack, we're just gonna come to the top side of the low slack now. We'll start getting water moving. We're gonna fish through that tide change and see if the beginning of the incoming, that first hour and a half, might start getting them back on the bite. We haven't hit a fish for a better part of an hour or so. Anyway, getting back to rigging. So majority guys fishing like salmon. We've done that in the past. It works. Dragging around 11, your 11-inch flasher of various brands that you can roll out here. Hoochies, spoons, herring, you name it. It all works. We thought we'd come out today and utilize our Kokanee rods just for the sport of it. Kokanee rods are designed as downrigger rods, so that's not an issue. We're fishing an 8-foot rod with a 2 to 10 rating. And we've downsized our gear somewhat. We're using these 8-inch Dodgers by Silver Horde, and today what's been getting it done is the white with the glow strip on it. Okay, the white and glow has been working, running about 36-inch leader to these small 2.5 pink and scale spoons by Silver Horde, and we put on a little the little 2-inch pink and UV hoochie on the bottom of that thing. This is basically on both sides of the boat. We doubled up on that presentation, running something completely different out the back. This has been getting it done for us pretty much all day, both sides working equally. Scents that we're putting on, we're utilizing our Pautzke's fire gel. Jordan always has success with tuna, so he must always put that on, and yes indeed, it actually worked on these spoons. And we're putting scent on the Dodger, and of course herring. We've swapped out this back rod, like I said, a number of times. We've ran bait, we've ran different size spoons. Right now we have a hearing aid on there, a 3 or 3.5, a little bigger presentation. We have been successful in hooking up on these coho at 50, 60, 80, and 90 as far as depth. We actually hit a double at 90 feet. Just by chance, one of them, the one the beard was fighting, the hook broke, so that one came off, and then the other fish we landed was a Chinook. So Chinook will also hit these small spoons. The thought process going into it is, white Dodgers predominantly work well. They especially work well on seasons where we have pink salmon or humpies going through the sound, so keep that in mind. But they also work on coho, and these small pink spoons with this squid on here to me resemble a small group of the krill shrimp, which they are feeding feverishly here on the krill. That king that we ended up on the deck with, until we realized, well, it's the right size, right color, wrong spots, black mouth, threw it back, it took off just fine. But it puked krill out all over the boat deck here. So been a fairly productive morning. We're not into high numbers. We've hooked 6 or 7 fish, which isn't bad. We're playing around with them on Kokanee gear, which is a kick in the pants. Troll speed is key. Coho typically like it a little faster. That being said, we're using Dodgers, and if we're trolling too fast, you're going to roll your Dodger over and start it spinning. So a couple things you can do: put it down in the water as you're gauging your troll speed to see how your gear is working or if it's actually spinning. And if your current speeds are too strong and you're having to go too fast or against current, you may have to switch to a flasher. That's going to roll like it's supposed to do. Okay, we don't want these Dodgers spinning. We want them actually dodging back and forth. So check your gear at the side of the boat when you've gauged your troll speed. Now, my electronics are pretty good. I can gauge troll speed, but it's not telling me speed over ground. So I have to be aware of my tide, and like I said, we have a lot of water moving. So I'm either fishing with current or against current, and that's going to change the action on my gear. I'm going to have to troll faster with current to ensure that my gear is working. I'm going to troll a little slower going against current to make sure I'm not spinning my gear. The one thing I rely on is I look at my downrigger cables, and optimally I always try to fish them at a 45 degree. When I'm at 45 degrees on my cables, a high percentage of the time, as a rough field guesstimate or a gauge that I rely on, I know that my gear is working. Okay, so that's one thing I do. 9 times out of 10 it's working for me. Trust me, there's guys out here catching more fish than us, and there's people out here struggling much harder than us. This is a great family opportunity to come out here on beautiful days like this. This is the Area 10 Resident Coho fishery. It opened June 1st. The retention is 2. Marked or unmarked, doesn't matter. And it extends into August, I believe. So that's basically the rigging for the day. We're going at them with this Kokanee rods and these smaller dodgers, small spoons. We have caught a number of shakers. I will tell you that. You scale down the size of your presentation, you're going to get some of those shakers on. So some things you need to make sure you do: check your gear every 10 to 15 minutes. You're going to probably clear a shaker off, 1 or 2 of the spoons. You're also going to clear off the jellyfish, because they do pile onto your gear, and if you got jellyfish dragging around on here, you're not catching coho. So hopefully that gives you a little insight as to what we're doing out here today. Kind of screwing around, but having a good time. Waiting for the Chinook opener in about a week or so. Going to be fishing the same area, plus Area 9 opens on July 16th, so make sure you stay tuned for that.